Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we will be discussing Paul Pogba, whether or not I think he will move on this summer. Probably not, to be honest, and 5 reasons why I think he should stay and why I think he's actually a good fit for Manchester United. If you are interested in that, please do hit that thumbs up button and do consider subscribing if you are new. So let's get into it. The first reason I think Paul Pogba should stay at Manchester United is probably the most obvious reason: his talent and his skill. It's levels above anything we have at the club at the moment, bar Bruno Fernandes in that midfield. And I think if we had to let him go in this summer, replacing him would be a lot more difficult than people might think. At the moment, we're linked to players like Grealish, potentially players like Van der Beek, but those are just bench options. If we let go of Paul Pogba, we now have to slot in whoever we buy in the summer and end up with the same problem we've had for the last 3 years at Manchester United, where if Pogba's replacement gets injured, we don't have anything on the bench and we still need depth. If we keep Paul Pogba, not only can we go and sign a decent quality bench player who will not only push him to his limits and try fight their way into the team, but we can also retain some of the skills and talent that have helped us become the team we are today. I admit, ever since the return of football after lockdown, he probably hasn't been the best player, and I haven't been the biggest fan of Paul Pogba. But I'm trying to be positive because whether we like it or not, I don't think anybody can afford Paul Pogba, and I don't think he's moving on. And so we've got to look at the positives and what he actually brings to this team. And actually, when you look at it, he is a really good footballer. He can play a diagonal ball across the field consistently. He can play short, intricate passes. He can dribble past players when he needs to. He's quick and pacey for a player who plays in his position, that deep-sided role, compared to Matic next to him, who isn't as quick and who isn't as mobile. And he also just has other technical abilities that we could go on and on and on for about. Yes, he is a bit clumsy defensively. Yes, he's not the best deep player, and some people still think he should be playing in a more advanced role. But actually, I think he is the perfect player to be playing next to someone like Matic, because if he's not the one we rely on for all the defensive responsibilities, and he has somebody to help him with those defensive responsibilities, then he can focus on being the Paul Pogba that we know and love moving forward. And I think that is a great thing. Reason number 2, I think his leadership is important in a team like this. We have the youngest team on average in the Premier League at the moment, and we finished third. It is imperative that we have leaders at the club. Whatever your opinion is of Paul Pogba, he had a man of the match performance in a World Cup final. The pressure doesn't get any worse than that. This is a big game player. He got us back into the game against Tottenham single-handedly with only 15 minutes to spare on the clock. Think about that. This guy hasn't played in over a year. Forget the 3 months of lockdown. He was injured for the entire season, and he came on in his first 15 minutes in a Manchester United shirt at competitive level. He's able to put us back into a game which arguably sparked the run we went on after lockdown and got us into third. So I don't think his leadership can be discounted. The word leadership is a very subjective word, and when I talk about leadership, let me make it clear. When I talk about leadership in context of Paul Pogba, I'm talking specifically about the fact that his abilities on and off the ball, and the way he's able to raise the bar and play at such an excellent level, is an inspiration to the people around him. He may not be the most exemplary figure, according to some people, but sometimes being an exemplary figure is about lifting up your teammates and showing them what they're capable of, rather than just shouting and holding on to your crest and talking about how much you love the club. There's more than one way to lead, and leadership is a very nuanced thing. And I think Paul Pogba is a leader in his own way. I don't think he would ever get the captain's armband at Old Trafford. I don't personally think he deserves it, but as I've always famously said on this channel, you don't need an armband to lead. And I think Paul Pogba is one of the few players in that dressing room who steps up when we need him. Reason number 3 of why I think Paul Pogba staying at Manchester United is a good thing is because of the chemistry he has with Matic and Bruno Fernandes. Let me explain. Matic is an ex-Premier League winner. Paul Pogba is an ex-World Cup winner. Bruno Fernandes is an amazing player from Portugal looking to make the step up and make a career-defining move that will put him where he wants to be, closer to his aspirations, closer to his dreams. Well, you could argue that he's already made that career-defining move by coming to Manchester United. But either way, it's very rare that a player from Sporting can come to a team like Manchester United and have instant chemistry with everybody else, especially in the midfield position. Finding a midfield trio that works consistently over a period of time, like the midfield trio we have at the moment, it's a very difficult balance to find as a coach and as a manager, and it's very seldom that they hit the ground running. That a player like Bruno Fernandes can hit the ground running and everybody around him just fits in perfectly. I think the chemistry that Paul Pogba and Bruno have is a beautiful thing, and I think it's a thing to be cherished, and I think it's often overlooked. Like, I think people have this weird idea of teams that win titles. They seem to think that everything is lovey-dovey, everything is nice, everything is happy cheery. I tell you what, I've played sport, you've played sport, and anyone who's played sport at a competitive level, even if you weren't that good, there's always going to be people on your team that you don't like. There's always going to be people on your team that there's a barrier of toxicity between the two of you, but you put those differences aside regardless to try and make the team win, and that's what separates the good players from the great players. They're able to put their emotions aside and work together, right? It's very rare that you actually like your teammates at a level that Manchester United are playing at. It's very rare that you actually like your teammates, you don't mind them, your personalities don't clash, and you go on and win titles. And I'm not saying Manchester United will win titles anytime soon, even though I hope they do. But it looks like we're certainly on the right track, and I don't know why you would destroy a perfect midfield trio just because of some bad blood over the last 3 years. Food for thought. Reason number 4, and I think this is probably one of the most important reasons if you're the Glazers, and by any miracle any Glazers fans are watching this video. It saves a lot of money. Paul Pogba staying at the club, his wage bill isn't ridiculously high for the standard of player that he is. He probably deserves that wage. He probably was worth the amount of money we paid for him, even though there's still rival fans 3 years later, 4 years later, talking about how much money we spent on Pogba. He's an amazing player, and I do not think anyone can deny that. The financial implications of moving Paul Pogba on do not only mean that we have to find a player to replace him, but we have to find a player of his level. Where are we going to find a player that's played in a World Cup final, a player that can come on off the bench after not playing for a year and raise the bar and instantly make his teammates look like shite because he's that good? We aren't going to find that many players, especially in a market like this. We aren't going to find many players like that on the cheap, and attracting them and luring them to Old Trafford is going to be very difficult. I mean, players like Grealish have already been priced out of a move from what we understand at the time of me recording this video. So I think the financial implications of keeping Paul Pogba, excuse the cliche, makes it feel like a new signing, because that's how important Paul Pogba is. He really is. If we sign him on a new deal, it works for everyone. The Glazers are happy, Ed Woodward is happy, we as fans, some of us are happy, some of us might not be happy, but all I would say is you have to learn to live with these things. I think as divisive as Paul Pogba is, you cannot deny his ability on the field and the way he's raised the bar. And you cannot deny the chemistry him, Bruno, and Matic have. You can't deny it. It's so good that I would almost argue that if we bring anybody else, that bond it's not going to be rekindled with a new player, at least not as quickly as it was when Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes stepped on the pitch for the first time together. Number 5, and this is probably my favorite reason of them all. It's very rare that you can get a player like Paul Pogba to come to your club at the age of 25, at the age of 24, and play out his prime years at Manchester United. Paul Pogba has won a World Cup, and I know I'm kind of tired of saying it as well, but he has won a World Cup. Ronaldo and Messi haven't won a World Cup. A lot of great players haven't won a World Cup. Paul Pogba has won a World Cup, he's won a Europa League, he's now in the Champions League, and he's in a team that is hungry for a Premier League title. Whether or not he will win the latter 2 trophies that I mentioned we'll just have to wait and see. It's up to the future, and we can't control the future as fans. All we can do is hope and support our team. But the point of what I'm saying is, he is in his prime. If there's ever a time that Paul Pogba is going to win those trophies, it is now. Paul Pogba isn't going to get astronomically, or exponentially better over the next few years. He is who he is right now, and I don't think he's going to improve drastically between the age he is now and when he's in the 30s, right? And I think we should keep that in mind. We should get the best out of Paul Pogba while we can, considering nobody's probably going to buy him this summer anyways. So why don't we try hold on to him and get the best out of him as much as we can. Also, Paul Pogba will want to play well, because if Paul Pogba wants to leave Manchester United, if Paul Pogba still wants to play for France and get selected on that front, he will play well. He will showcase his talent and ability, and teams will be looking at him. So it's a win-win. He wants to play well, whether you think Paul Pogba loves Manchester United or not. He wants to play well regardless, because it benefits him either way. Whether it makes you think he loves the club, or look at how hard Paul is working for the club, or whether it means he's just trying to get selected, it benefits us. It's a prime Paul Pogba. And all I would say is you got to learn to put your personal feelings aside sometimes and learn to look at the positives, because he ain't moving in the summer. So you might as well learn to embrace him if you're anti-Paul Pogba. So then that has been your Triple M show. 5 reasons why I think Paul Pogba staying at Manchester United is a good thing. Please do leave a like on the video. Consider subscribing if you are new. And of course, don't be shy in the comments down below and let me know what you think of everything I have discussed in today's video. And enjoy the rest of your Sunday, evening, afternoon, morning, whenever you're watching this. Peace out.